What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, and I want to expand on something I talked about in the video about Mariano Rivera, and I think it's the ongoing disgrace that Major League Baseball is keeping these two individuals out of the Hall of Fame, out of Cooperstown, and it looks like they won't make it. Um, the last ballot, Barry Bonds had about 59% of the votes. Um, Clemens had 60%, and you need 75% to get in, and they're only inching upward very slowly with each ballot, and they only have 3 more years of eligibility. So at this pace, they might get maybe into the mid to upper 60s range, but they're probably going to fall short, man. Unless more and more voters start realizing, look, we're keeping probably the two best players, definitely for Bonds. Um, well, Clemens too. You can make the argument that Bonds is the greatest offensive player of all time or the second best offensive player of all time, depending on how you feel about Babe Ruth and the era that he played in. Clemens, to me, is at least the most honored and decorated uh, starting pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball. He might not be the best, but he's one of the best. And he had a very long career, and he played at a high level for a very long time. I think he was the best pitcher in baseball from the mid 1980s, probably all the way into the mid 1990s. And he sustained excellence all the way into the 21st century. Barry Bonds, I think, was the best all around player in baseball in the 1990s. And I always make the argument that even before the steroid usage or the alleged steroid use by both of these men, that they had already done enough to be elected to Cooperstown. So I saw some opinion from a sports writer saying, well, look, um, if a guy was on, the 10th hole in a tournament in golf and he's dominating, and then all of a sudden in the 11th hole he started cheating, you can't let the guy get the win at the 18th just because he was honest from the 10th, from the first hole to the 10th hole. But see, I don't like that analogy because what do people usually look for? All right, they look for at least a person, a player who was dominant in their position for at least a decade or something around there. And Barry Bonds played from 19, I believe, 1986 to 2007. And Barry Bonds was arguably the best player in baseball, probably from 19, maybe 91 through 1998, definitely. And then again, if you include the steroid years, from 2001 to about 2004. Then he tailed off a little bit. His age crept up. All right. But you have these, and then from 2001 to 2003, 2004, this guy was putting up historical numbers. Now, whether or not you want to say, well, he was cheating to do it, my opinion about that is for someone to be cheating, you have to be saying that they wouldn't be playing at a high level without PEDs or what have you. And the only thing I see with steroids is that it probably, in both men's cases, it probably helped them come back from injuries sooner, and it helped them probably play a little bit longer. But as far as their level of play is concerned, I don't think it helped them any more so than maybe you can make the argument that it helped Clemens more. I think Clemens is more of a case that it helped him more than Bonds. I think maybe it did help Bonds hit the ball harder, but I don't think it made him see the ball better. Um, if anything, the added weight slowed him down and made him more of a one-dimensional player. But it definitely made transform him possibly. But it's not like he didn't work as well. It's not like what I don't like about these allegations. They make it seem like a person just takes steroids and all of a sudden they become Popeye and shit. You know what I'm saying? Um, okay, we can pretty much tell that Bonds used steroids. He got bigger. He had a lot of symptoms of steroid use. All right. Um, with Clemens, you can make the argument it did help him throw harder. Okay, as he got older, and he kept his velocity for a very long time. All right, but let's also say this too. Let's also keep this out there. For the majority of that period of time where these men were accused of using steroids, technically steroids wasn't illegal, and I just I just have a problem with a guy like David Wells next year. And this is not a knock on David Wells. But David Wells was not the pitcher or player that Roger Clemens was. Now, David Wells is a borderline Hall of Fame candidate, in my opinion. But you're going to put him in, but not Roger Clemens. There's just something very wrong about that. There's something wrong with the Hall of Fame and baseball, where you have two of the greatest players in the history of the game not to be inducted because of alleged steroid use. And let me say this too. Major League Baseball was well aware of the accusations swirling around Barry Bonds when he played in the latter years of his Giants career. But they had no qualms about when he was going after Hank Aaron's home run record and showing his games on television and getting ratings and cashing in. Okay. And then when he broke Hank Aaron's record, I remember when he broke it, I think it was August of 2007. Hank Aaron congratulated him. Then Barry Bonds was effectively blackballed out of baseball. He couldn't get signed anywhere, which made no sense because the guy, even though I think at the time he was 40, was Bonds at the time? 43 years old, I think. I think Bonds was 43 years old, but he was still a guy who could bat 270, could crack out 25 to 30 home runs in his sleep. And he was doing this on like 300 or so at bats because he was still getting walked a lot. You know, he could still get you 25, 30 home runs, still get you 90 RBI, maybe 100. And, if he played in New York, he probably would hit maybe 40 home runs because he was a left-handed hitter. And the stadium would have been very, it would have been made for him to be successful there. But he was effectively blackballed out of baseball. And same thing goes with the 90s guys, McGuire, Sosa, you know, Manny Ramirez, all these different guys who were just hitting home runs after home runs. Major League Baseball was cashing in record ratings. People were flocking to see these guys. You know what I'm saying? Baseball was dying because of the strike. But yet you want to be moralistic all of a sudden and say, "Oh, we can't let these guys in because they ruined the game." But you don't have a problem with putting their clips on YouTube. I remember Major League Baseball would not put their clips on YouTube. They want people to forget about the home runner. They wouldn't put clips of McGuire and Sosa and all these different guys from the home runner hitting home runs. Bonds, one of them. I remember the video. I remember the video 5 years ago called Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa While We Cheered. And at one point in time, that video was number one and number two on the search list for Mark McGuire. And then other people started putting up videos of Mark McGuire hitting home runs. And all of a sudden, Major League Baseball started putting up clips of, these guys, the Bash brothers and all this hitting home runs and, these views. But you don't mind cashing in on them. You want them close, but not too close. You don't mind cashing in on what they did, but they're not worthy enough to be in your Hall of Fame. Even though a guy had 583 career home runs and only 6,000 at-bats. World Series ring. Only one of two men hit 70 home runs in the season. Sammy Sosa, 609 career home runs. Multiple 60 home run seasons. You know what I mean? I think he won the MVP award with 98, Sammy Sosa. I think he won the MVP in 98, National League MVP. Then Barry Bonds, the creme de la creme. 7-time MVP winner. 7-time. I think the guy that's closest to him is Willie Mays, and I think he only won it like 3 times. This guy is arguably the greatest baseball player in the history of Major League Baseball, and you don't put him in. You keep him out because of some bullshit integrity rule that you have, when probably 3/4 of the people who voting use Viagra because they can't get up. They don't have a problem with using performance enhancing drugs in that situation, but we want to keep this guy out, though. Whatever. It's bullshit to me.